Welcome to Sales Bites by Journey, where we talk about everything you need to know to be a killer at sales. I'm your host, Will Jenkins. Let's get it.
Hello, and welcome to Sales Bites by Journey. My name is Will Jenkins, CEO and founder of Journey, and your host. I'm joined by Michael Sternberg, Director of Sales at 3PL Systems. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. So we met certainly on LinkedIn and then in person doing the conference circuit. It's been really cool getting to know you the last few years, man. But I'm excited to learn from you. So as we dive in here, always like to start with a quick 10,000 foot overview of your background. Want to know a little bit about what 3PL Systems does, and then we'll dive into the sales bites.
Cool. So I'm a career sales guy, and in many different forms, but it's always been sales. Like a lot of us who've been around for a while, I kind of cut my teeth going door to door, right? So I know you have a similar history. I think you were selling Cutco, right?
I was.
Yes. Children in third world countries getting sponsored for 92 cents a day. That was where I started. Yeah. So same residential grind. Hundreds of doors a day. Those who've done it know, right? Put it that way. Transitioned into selling copiers, business to business, but still going door to door. And then for the last almost decade, I've been here at 3PL Systems, heading up all go-to-market motions and commercial activities for, obviously a TMS company. So yeah, who are we? We're a freight brokerage TMS company. So those of you that are listening, I'm sure most of them know what that is. I don't need to go into too much detail there, right?
Yeah, man. And I always ask for a fun fact. You got any fun facts to share? Anything interesting?
Gosh, you're putting me on the spot. I wasn't prepped for that. What is a fun fact about me? No, I'm kind of a boring, simple guy, honestly. I don't know. I mean, let me get back to you on that. Cool. I wasn't ready for that.
Dude, no worries. The fun fact is that Michael's heads down just selling TMS, right?
That's
He's
right.
locked in.
That's right.
Awesome. So today we're going to talk a little bit about cold calling, and I'll let you start wherever you want to from a topic perspective on cold calling, and I'll ask some questions. So go ahead and hit it.
Okay. So where I want to start with cold calling, I think a lot of people get it wrong as far as what is the point of cold calling, right? When you're early in your career, you think, all right, I'm cold calling people because I'm finding people that I want to sell something to. On the surface, that makes a lot of sense. But when you think about it in a longer tail view, and let's say traditionally most sales teams, you have a territory and then you have your ICP, right? So my job, in my opinion, for cold calling is I want to learn something about every single person that is in my ICP, that is in my territory. My job with cold calling is to be able to then sort people into specific buckets, right? Are you ready now? Are you ready later? Are you never going to be ready? What kind of shipping do you do? Are you an LTL client? Are you a truckload client? Are you doing a lot of reefer loads? Are you doing consolidations? But if you approach cold calling in I'm just going to go out and sort everybody into these buckets and figure out if I can learn something about them and then alternatively introduce myself, it relieves a lot of pressure from the activity. And you realize that I'm not just going to go sell someone something, which obviously that is the goal, but that comes later, right? And so I think if you frame your mind up where all I'm going to do, I'm going to go out, I'm going to introduce myself, I'm going to learn, that's the goal of cold calling,
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about fact finding in cold calling that people overlook because you don't, when you first start, you want to get sales, right? You feel like that's obviously the most important part of what you do, but you need to understand the person that you're selling to. And again, you mentioned how to rank them, ready now, ready in the future, et cetera. Man, some reps don't really know how to manage their pipeline properly, so they're not really sure who to call. And when they do their cold calling, they don't spend enough time prioritizing who is actually worth their time and who's ready to buy today.
So pre-cold call, right? Pre-cold call, you got to build a list of who you're reaching out to. And that is so important is you can make a million calls or knock a million doors, and if you're not targeting the right people, obviously it doesn't matter. Now that said, if you do it right, you should be reaching out to people that you can help, whatever service it is that you're selling. But statistically, only about 2% of them, it's going to be the right timing. So if you frame your mind up around that when you're cold calling, you may be the right fit, but there's only a 2% chance it's the right time. You can adjust your talk tracks, you can adjust your mindset, you can adjust your expectations. But if you don't have a good list, then like you're cold calling is futile at that point, right?
The funny thing to me that I love about what you're talking about is there are people that have no clue that the reason they're not successful is because they're calling the wrong people. They think they don't know how to sell, or that they may not be able to move opportunities forward. And it's truly because they just have a list of customers that are not a fit for their ICP. But typically, some organizations don't know what their ICP is. So it's a mixed bag for what the rep is selling to.
We can sell to anybody. How many times have you heard that in your sales consulting stuff?
Blows my mind, brother. You can sell anybody. I'm like, all right, man, good luck. It's tough. It's so tough.
Oh, yeah, it's a funny thing.
It's crazy.
It's a really funny thing. But I want to get a little bit more into like some tactical stuff around cold calling, and maybe some like techniques, not necessarily scripts, but like that kind of stuff. Like how do we actually do the thing, right? Totally. And so I think, and this is hard when you're early in your career, but once you've done it enough, you start to realize like all of the fear that comes with the activity of cold calling, it's all fake, right? Like it's all just in your head. And you realize like even these CEOs and founders of $100 billion companies or $100 million / billion dollar companies, they're just dudes like you and me. Like it's just another guy who is like trying to sell his service and grow his company and take care of his family. It's not this like big enigma to be scared of, right? And that's something you learn early on. But once you're able to remove that fear, then you can approach this in a way where you're a lot more calm and a lot more conversational. Because ultimately, what's the goal? My goal, I'm interrupting you in the middle of your day. I had an old mentor that told me we are professional interrupters. That's what we do. But if I can get you to talk and have a conversation, then I've won. I hate to say it that way, but like that's the goal, right? So if I can do that, and how do you do that? It's human. It's not a script. It's, hey man, this is what I'm doing. This is who I am. I understand it's probably not the right time, back to what I said before, but based on what I know about your company, I think we could help you at some point. Do you guys have an alternative that you're using right now? Is this something you're even aware of? Right? And then you can kind of launch into the conversation. But I think people overcomplicate it. What is the silver bullet? What if I say this? Right? What's the counterattack if he says this? Dude, have a conversation, right? Like it's really not complicated.
Yeah, I think there's so much to be said about people just being people. We're calling other people. They wake up every day, do their thing. They got a job. They got a business they're trying to build. They're just people, right? And once you get over that and you start to realize you're just having conversations, it does get a lot easier. And we are professional interrupters. You're really never reaching someone on a cold call where it's a good time. Like it's just very rare that it is. They happen to pick up, right? So get to the point. Let them know what's up. You don't have to be like crazy scripted. You do need to understand them and what they're working through, though. So back to pre-call prep, you get a good list. Any tips on understanding how to position that conversation with who's on the other end so you sound like you know what you're talking about versus like, my manager gave me a list, I'm just ripping through calls?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a delicate balance here, right? Because should you research before you make the call? Absolutely. Should you do 10, 15, 20 minutes of research per call? Absolutely not, because then you're going to get through 10 in a day, right? So I think it's so easy to get the information now. So I'll just take an example from my day. I have a brokerage that I want to call. I have an individual and I have a company name. I'm going to pull up their company website and I'm going to pull up the individual on LinkedIn, right? What are some simple things? Hey, this person's been at XYZ brokerage for 10 years. They came up through customer support and now they're leading a team on an account management side. Cool. I have a narrative there that I can speak to. And their company is based in the U.S. They also have an arm in Canada, and they move primarily refrigerated produce. That takes 2 minutes, and that is more than enough to then go in and with an informed viewpoint. Hey, look, I know I'm catching you out of the blue. I know you're probably not sitting around hoping that a TMS sales guy calls you right now, right? Ha ha, whatever, kind of break the ice. And it's like, look, like any decent sales rep, I did a little bit of research. I know I don't know everything about you guys, but I see you guys ship a lot of produce, probably deal with a lot of reefers. You've been with the company for a while. You probably already have systems. How's everything working for you? That alone, to your point about like coming in with an informed opinion, all of a sudden you're like, okay, this guy's not a scrub. He knows what he's talking about. He cares enough. That's a big thing. He cares enough to actually do the research, and their guard goes down. Totally. All right, let's talk, right? And then there's no script after that, right? It's wherever you take. I'm listening. I'm just listening, right?
I've always thought about sales as those Goosebumps books where you choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you go left, go to page 73. That's just what it is. You're going to open with a little bit of a script or an opener. They're going to say something, and now I'm going to go to page 73 because they said X. And so you just start to have that's like impromptu comedy to an extent. Like, well, the crowd didn't know what you're supposed to say, but like, you better be on your feet, ready to go.
It's a perfect analogy. And the more repetitions you get, the more you know which page to go to keep the same analogy, right?
Totally.
If I've never seen that move before, okay, I don't know, is it page 73 or is it page 21? I don't remember. But after time, it just becomes wired so deeply in your brain that it's almost like second nature, right?
Totally. So when you think about cold calling, do you have any suggestions for new reps or veterans in terms of managing their day to make sure they get through their cold calls accordingly?
Yes, absolutely. And this is not like a unique thing to me, but it's just something that I think everybody that I've seen that cold calls effectively and consistently at a high level, it's time blocking, right? You have to block the time, and it's a non-negotiable no matter what, right? Even if you're a full cycle sales rep, you're doing discovery calls, you're doing presentations and demos and closing and proposals. I don't care. You have to build your pipeline. You have to cold call. And if it's an hour a day at the same time every day, I don't schedule any other calls in that hour, and everyone else internally at my team knows that. You can rip it out, right? You're fine. And it just becomes a habit and a muscle, like anything. You're used to working it out. If you don't prioritize it, it will not happen, because you can always find something you'd rather do than make a cold call. I don't care who you are. Let's craft a good email to follow up with that guy. Let's prepare for this presentation. Let's work on an RFP if you're in the brokerage space. Whatever it is, I could easily convince myself there's something better to do than cold calling.
There's always something more fun to do than cold call. Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. For sure.
Anything that you think you've learned in your career now about cold calling that you wish you knew early on that would have been helpful?
Ooh, yes. And this, I think, is more of just like a maturity thing. Stop taking everything so personally. Nobody owes you anything. They don't owe you anything, right? Because it's so easy to, I've done it early in my career. Dudes like, never frickin' call me again, hangs up. And then all of a sudden it screws up your mood for the next 20, 30 minutes. And you're like, oh, I suck. What did I say? Like, dude, it has nothing to do with you. That guy's having a bad day, right? And so over time you realize, like, just make the next call.
Yep.
Right? Like, it's always, I had an early sales mentor tell me about the goldfish mentality, right? Goldfish memory is like, 7 seconds or whatever they say, right? So it's like, okay, and you did something good, you had a good call, okay, forget about it. You had a bad call, forget about it, right? Like, you always have to be that, like, next. That's hard to develop if you don't just have a lot of reps in, though.
It is. It does take time, and in the beginning, it's a little bit more challenging. I also had a sales mentor tell me something similar, but it was around the fact that when you make a good call, that's the best time to make your next call, because you've got all that energy. The call went well. I talked to Michael. He gave me some good information. I moved it forward. Cool. I'm on to my next one because the energy's high. I feel good. And same with the short-term mentality, man. It call didn't go great. It is what it is. Let me get on the next one.
Absolutely.
So, Michael, this was really, really helpful. I have a ton of notes. I'm going to recap a couple, and then I want to give you an opportunity to mention anything that I may have missed. So, in the beginning, you started talking about like, why am I cold calling? So the goal is to learn something new about the ICP in your territory and not necessarily close a sale, but move that opportunity forward and learn something that you didn't know previously. You talked about being able to manage your pipeline more effectively. So if you're not cold calling, it's hard to separate those customers into different buckets and know when's a good time to reach out, when they may be buying next. Pre-call prep is huge. So targeting the right people. And this is one that, man, a hill that I'll die on. If you don't know who a good customer is, you're going to spend a lot of time talking to the wrong people. So without a good list, cold calling is futile. The fear is not real, man. Like, these people don't owe you anything. There's like nothing that they're supposed to do, right? So they're people. Just call them, get through it. It'll start to get better over time. Do spend time researching. So look up the person in the company, block your time, and know that that is when you're going to go through your cold call, so that you don't find something more fun to do than cold calling. It's easy to kick that can down the road, and then stop taking everything personally. It's just part of the game, right? Some people may be in a bad mood, but like, dude, it's not you. It's all good. Short term.
100%.
Anything 100%. Else that I missed?
Yeah, I'm gonna add one thing.
Yeah.
Specifically for like the people listening to that maybe earlier in their careers. All this advice is great. None of it matters if you don't just do the thing. So like, just go make the calls. It's like anything. What's the best way to learn how to like hit golf balls? You go to the range and you get a bucket of balls and you shank 100 balls, and then you get another bucket and maybe you shank like 75, and then the next bucket you shank 50, right? Like, that's the only way. Like, theory is great. Read a book, listen to a podcast, pick up the phone and make the call. You'll get better.
Yeah, man, I love that philosophy. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on Sales Bites, a sales veteran like yourself, Michael. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, man.